Welcome to a chilling tale of forgotten gods and enduring courage, a journey that weaves through the frost-bitten landscape of a cursed village trapped in eternal winter. As you listen, feel free to go about your day, whether you're commuting, cooking, or unwinding after a long day. Immerse yourself in the struggles of a determined hero who discovers an ancient tome that unlocks secrets of the past and joins forces with a friend to confront the shadows that haunt their land. Will they uncover the truth behind the bitter cold and awaken the god bound beneath the ice? As the stakes rise, so do the whispers of hope that stir amidst despair. Each moment is rich with magical encounters and heart-pounding choices. If you enjoy this tale and find yourself, the first time the winds whispered their secrets to me, I was a child playing in the snowdrifts that seemed to stretch on forever. I used to imagine the voices belonged to the spirits of the frost, guiding me through the winter wonderland. Little did I know then that the chilling breeze held tales far older than I, secrets that had been buried under layers of ice and time. Now, as the frozen air howled around me, I understood those whispers were not mere fantasies of a child's imagination. No, they were a call to something deeper, something larger than myself. It was on this particularly frigid day that I found myself drawn to my grandmother's attic. The village below me lay enshrined in a blanket of snow, each home a silent testimony to the curse that had befallen us. By now, I had grown accustomed to the cold. It was a constant companion, gnawing at our bones, stifling our laughter. There were days, like today, when it felt unbearable, and I sought refuge in the memories of warmth, the stories my grandmother used to tell by the fireside. As I climbed the creaky wooden steps to the attic, I was met with a wall of stale air, thick with dust and memories. Sunlight filtered through the small window, illuminating motes of dust that danced in a bittersweet rhythm. I pushed aside the cobwebs that clung like forgotten hopes and began my search. Old trunks filled with yellowed photographs and tattered blankets surrounded me, each item steeped in history, each a fragment of lives lived. It was then, beneath an ancient quilt, that I discovered the tome. Bound in worn leather and etched with symbols I could not recognize, it seemed to hum with a quiet energy. My heart raced as I opened the cover, revealing pages yellowed with age, ink faded yet legible in the light. The words spoke of a realm that once knew the sun's embrace, of a god revered by our ancestors, a deity whose warmth was believed to be the hearth of our existence. His name, lost to the ages, was whispered only in the sighs of the wind. I leaned closer, tracing the elegant script with my fingertips. Tales unfurled before me, detailing how the god had nurtured our land, how flowers bloomed under his gaze, and the laughter of children rang sweetly in the air. Yet the stories turned darker as they recounted a betrayal by his own followers, a desperate attempt to harness his power that led to his imprisonment beneath the very glacier that cast its shadow over our village. Anguished and alone, the god was bound by chains of ice, and in his absence, the warmth drained from our world, leaving behind a desolate winter that ensnared us all. Intrigued and frightened, I sat there, lost in the narrative, my mind racing with possibilities. Could it be true? Could the answer to our suffering lie in the past, hidden away in legends that others had long ago deemed mere fables? The villagers often spoke of the old tales with a mixture of reverence and ridicule, but I felt a stirring within me. What if I could break the curse? What if I could awaken the god and restore the warmth that once enveloped our land? As the wind howled furiously outside, rattling the attic windows, I closed the tome and held it close to my chest. I could almost hear the whispers more clearly now, calling me to action, urging me to seek the truth. Steeling my resolve, I made a vow to find out more about this deity and the desperate fate that befell him. Perhaps those who had gone before me had made mistakes, but I was determined to uncover their secrets and, in doing so, forge a path to salvation for our cursed land. With the weight of the tome guiding my thoughts, I descended the attic stairs, unaware that my life was about to change forever. The legends of the eternal winter were no longer mere stories. The journey to uncover the truth had begun, and with each step, I could feel the chill in the air shifting, aligning with my growing determination. I would find the forgotten god, break the chains of frost, and perhaps, even if just a little, I would bring back the warmth that so many had lost. The morning air was crisp and bitter as I made my way through the village, the snow crunching beneath my boots like the remnants of forgotten dreams. Each house I passed had its shutters closed tightly, like gossips holding tightly to secrets. The townsfolk, weary from the relentless winter, avoided one another, their faces etched with worry and despair. I had learned not to dwell on their silent judgments. Today I was focused on my quest for knowledge and perhaps a glimmer of hope. The local library was a brick building that looked haggard against the white expanse surrounding it. Its exterior was draped in a thick layer of frost, and the heavy door creaked loudly as I pushed inside. The warmth enveloped me like a long-lost embrace, a stark contrast to the chill outside. Shelves loomed tall, lined with books that whispered stories of times long past. I felt a thrill course through me. Here lay answers that find. The wind howled as we trudged through the deepening snow, Alara and I completely enveloped in our search for the hidden temple. Our previous days spent leafing through dusty tomes had led us to whispered rumors of a structure buried beneath the ice, said to be a place of worship for the forgotten god. The villagers had long since shunned the old stories, but with every passing hour, I felt the weight of destiny pressing down upon us. Alara moved with almost ethereal grace, her keen eyes scanning the landscape as we followed the ancient map we had pieced together. The sky hung heavy with clouds, shadows looming like specters over the mountain range that bordered our village. The days grew shorter, the sun a fading memory as we ascended the mountainside, our breaths rising in misty puffs. There was a palpable energy in the air, and I felt my heart quicken as we approached what appeared to be a set of stone ruins, partially covered by a thick mass of snow. As we stepped into the entrance of the temple, the air shifted. The darkness inside seemed to swallow us whole, and we flickered our lanterns against the ancient walls, revealing carvings that told stories of rituals long forsaken. The stones felt alive, vibrating with memories of laughter and prayers, of warmth that once danced in the hearts of the worshippers who had come here. It was within the heart of the temple that we found it. A large, shattered mirror lying upon an altar of ice, its fragments reflecting nothing but the darkness around. My heart sank at the sight. The mirror was said to be a conduit, a sacred object believed to reflect not only the sun's warmth, but also the spirit of the god himself. Now it lay in ruin, pieces scattered like the dreams of our people, and I felt an inexplicable connection to it, as though the mirror's fate echoed my own. As I stepped closer, curiosity igniting my nerves, I reached out hesitantly to touch the cold surface of a large shard. The moment my fingers grazed the glass, the world jolted around me, colors swirling until they solidified into a brilliant scene that defied the winter outside. A radiant warmth enveloped me as I stood in a lush meadow, vibrant wildflowers dancing beneath a golden sun. The air was sweet with the scent of blooming life, and I marveled at the beauty. But then the scene shifted, darkened, and I found myself standing before a figure barely visible in the haze. He was tall, regal in form, but an unseen weight bore down on his shoulders, a sadness etched into his features. As he came into focus, I realized it was the forgotten god, bound within a chain of ice that sparkled malevolently in the sun's light. His eyes were pools of sorrow, and in that moment I was overcome with his anguish, the gravity of his eternal imprisonment. "You must break the chains," a voice echoed in my mind, strained like a whisper carried through the wind, but the price may be dire. The momentary glimpse into his plight shattered my heart as fragments of his chain ripped through my consciousness, sending pain shooting through me as though icy blades consumed my spirit. My vision snapped back to the temple, breathless and shaken. I stumbled back from the mirror, the remnants of my connection to the god still lingering like the fading light of a sunset. Alara rushed to my side, her eyes wide with concern. I could see the reflection of my own fear mirrored in her gaze, a silent recognition of the burden that now lay across our shoulders. I tried to compose myself, to voice the truth that had just been revealed, but the weight of it threatened to crush me. "Alara, we must free him," I gasped, my mind reeling. "His prison? It is tied to our winter, and unlocking the past will not come without danger." She took my hand, her grip firm and reassuring, as we stood together against the unseen weight of our task. "We will find a way," she assured me, but I could see the uncertainty lurking in her eyes. As the chill of the temple seeped into my bones, I realized that our journey stretched far beyond mere knowledge. It was a call to action, a confrontation with forces we could scarcely comprehend. What had been a spark of hope now flickered with the threat of awakening something far more potent than the cursed winter outside. The time had come to confront the frostbound secrets, and with them, the shadows lurking in our past and the perils we had yet to face. We would forge ahead, united in our quest, but the path stretched treacherously deep, and the cold was only a prelude to the darkness that lay ahead. The descent from the temple was a blur, my mind swirling with the weight of what I had witnessed. The sunlight barely kissed our cheeks as we navigated the treacherous path down the mountainside, and by the time we returned to the village, dusk was wrapping its icy fingers around the fading day. But the cold outside was nothing compared to the palpable tension that greeted us. As I stepped through the familiar streets, I could feel the restlessness in the air, a storm brewing not just above us, but within the hearts of the villagers. They moved about with their heads down, sharing furtive glances, as if sensing that something monumental was about to unfold. I had always loved this village, my childhood steeped in memories of laughter and togetherness. But now it felt as if we were caught in a net of despair, each thread tight and suffocating. Alara and I exchanged worried glances as we made our way through the thinning crowd that crowded the marketplace. The stalls, usually vibrant with color and warmth as food supplies dwindled to perilous lows. The heavy scent of frost lay thick in the air, but beneath it was something darker, a sense of looming menace that suffocated the last of the holiday cheer. "Have you heard?" An elderly woman muttered as we passed, her voice thick with fear. "It is the girl. She's the reason for this cursed winter. Disturbing the ancient ones, it will only bring us harm." The words struck me like a physical blow. My heart raced as they wrapped around me like chains, tightening with each moment. I turned, desperate for clarity, but the whispers had begun to spread like wildfire, igniting distrust among my own kin. I could feel Alara's hand at my back, a silent support, but even she couldn't quell the brewing storm inside me. I knew then that simply unraveling the truth of our past was not enough. I had to rally those who remained open to hope, to share what we discovered in the temple, to help them see that our only way forward lay in confronting the very forces that held us prisoner beneath the weight of the winter sky. "Come, let's gather the villagers at the square," I said, my voice trembling with a mix of determination and trepidation. "We cannot lose hope. We must show them their own hearts, their own strength." With each step toward the bustling square, I felt my resolve hardening. I needed to be the voice for our people, to remind them of the warmth that once lived in our midst despite the icy grip of the glacier. As we entered the square, a murmur rose, rippling through the small crowd like a wave of discontent. The air was thick with uncertainty, and the eyes of the villagers glimmered with suspicion. "Alara, you should speak first," I whispered, nudging her forward. She looked shocked, but something in me felt like it was nudging her to break through the layer of dread that hung over us. "Fellow villagers, we gather here amidst a great darkness," she began, her voice steady yet soft, reaching into the hearts of those gathered. "But we must remember the tales of our ancestors. There lies a power beneath our feet, an ancestor who may yet save us from our plight." As she spoke, I gathered every ounce of courage and stepped up beside her. "We have found an ancient temple," I announced, my voice trembling yet clear with purpose. Inside, we discovered a shattered mirror, the harbinger of warmth that could awaken the forgotten god who has suffered as we have. But we cannot awaken him if we are divided by fear. We must stand together against the shadows and the suspicions that threaten our survival. At first, silence hung like a heavy fog, and then a voice cried out from the crowd, a skeptic, one of many I would have to fight against. "And what if you awaken something worse than the winter? You disturb the frost, and we shall pay the price. You're no savior. You're a fool." Gasps echoed through the crowd, and I could feel uncertainty rippling outwards. I felt my knees grow weak, but Alara took hold of my arm, grounding me. The storm was brewing, and if I did not make them see what was at stake, it would consume us all. There is no greater danger than what looms over us now, I countered passionately, raising my voice above the din. The winter is a curse that has choked the life from our land. Can we not unite against it? The God we speak of holds not only the key to our past, but possibly to our future. Trust in me. Trust in each other. We must seek the warmth that resides still in our hearts. Slowly, doubt began to fade from the villagers' faces, replaced by the flicker of remembered hope. They began to share whispers, glances of camaraderie igniting within the crowd. But just as I felt their resolve strengthening, a chill swept through the square like a malevolent force. I looked up to see dark shapes moving against the mountains, shadows twisting ominously in the fading light. "What's happening?" Alara gasped, her eyes wide as she followed my gaze. A deep tremor resonated through the earth, and the villagers around us staggered back, fear evident on their faces. I realized then that we were not alone. Dark forces were indeed conspiring against us, lurking in the frost-bitten mountains, unyielding and watching our every move. "Stay strong," I shouted, the words escaping me without thought. "We gather not just for hope, but for our very lives. Stand with me." The path ahead stretched dangerously wide, fraught with shadows and uncertainty, but I knew with every ounce of my being that we must confront them together, or we would fall one by one into the nightmare of eternal winter. The gathering storm raged against us, but I felt a flicker of resilience in the hearts of those around me. Together, we might awaken the warmth that had been lost. But first, we had to stand firm against the dark that descended upon us, bound together by the threads of old tales and a glimmer of undeniable hope. The air felt heavy as I stood at the precipice of our greatest challenge, my heart pounding with a mixture of dread and determination. The village had reached a boiling point. Whispers of dissent and fear had festered, and not all were willing to gather as one under the weight of the ancient legends. Yet, even amid doubt, there were those who stood steadfast beside me. Alara, a few brave souls, and those who still believed in the warmth that once had cradled our home. Our expedition had been hastily organized, fueled by desperation. We gathered supplies and forged a plan to venture to the glacier's heart, the rumored prison of the forgotten god. If we were to wake him and break this cycle of eternal winter, we needed to confront the very cold that sought to claim us. The journey was steep and treacherous, a winding path that wound deeper into the mountains, where frost clung like a shroud to the earth. With every step, I felt the presence of something ancient and powerful enveloping us, a sense of anticipation thrumming in the air. As we neared the glacier, towering walls of ice loomed ahead, glimmering in the feeble light, like crystalline sentinels warning us to turn back. I glanced at my companions. Trepidation flickered in their eyes, yet I sensed a resolve growing too. This had become more than just a mission. It was a test of our courage and beliefs. Finally, we reached the cavernous mouth of the glacier, the darkness stretching before us like the yawning abyss of despair. "Gather your courage," I urged, taking a deep breath as the cold nipped at my cheeks. "We must invoke the ritual we've discovered, but remember, we do not know what lies ahead." As we stepped into the glacial depths, the wind howled like a wounded beast, spiraling around us, amplifying the thick tension. Flickering lanterns cast ghostly shadows against the icy walls, and I could feel the pulse of history vibrating through the frost. Deep within this frozen fortress, I sensed the spirit of the forgotten god, restless and aching. We arrived at a grand chamber, its walls lined with ancient carvings, the outlines illuminated by our flickering flames. At the center lay the altar, a remnant of worship from a time long gone. The air turned electric, crackling with an unseen force, as I placed the shards of the shattered mirror before the altar, remembering the sorrow in the god's eyes during my vision. Alara and I began to chant the ancient words, our voices echoing against the icy walls, weaving together the stories of our ancestors and the pleas for the god to return. The ground trembled beneath us, and the temperature plunged, icy claws grasping at our resolve. The once peaceful incantation turned urgent as the walls of the chamber trembled, sending shards of ice cascading down like rain. Suddenly, the energy intensified, pulling us deeper into the ritual as the air shifted, swirling and condensing until a figure began to manifest before us. Dimly, I saw the outline of the god, his ethereal form bathed in an eerie light. His eyes, once filled with joy, now held despair entwined with a burning intensity, a tempest of emotions etched upon his face. "Why have you awakened me?" His voice boomed, resonating like thunder through the chamber. The sound sent chills down my spine, yet I felt a magnetic pull toward him. I stepped forward, my heart pounding with an urgency that eclipsed my fear. "We seek your freedom," I declared, my voice trembling but resolute. "The winter grips our land, and we suffer beneath its weight. We believe that you hold the key to our salvation." A shadow flickered across his face, a hint of recognition, but pain swiftly followed. They who bound me sought power beyond their means. My release could usher forth unimaginable chaos, unleashing a wrath upon the world that you cannot contain. In that moment, I understood the weight of the choice I faced. The god's power could restore warmth, but it could also devastate everything we held dear. I felt a tremor beneath my feet, a reminder of the implications of awakening him. The battle between nature's fury and our resolve played out in that tension-laden air. "I have seen the depths of your suffering," I pleaded, "but the choice must be yours. We do not know how to free you without jeopardizing our reality. The darkness once unleashed could swallow us whole, but the cycle of winter must end, and I cannot stand by while my people wither in the cold." The god's gaze softened slightly, his sorrow-laden spirit flickering brightly. "You speak with the heart of an ancestor, yet I sense foreboding. Your resolve is commendable, yet the chains that bind me are forged from the essence of this land. To seek my release may bring a reckoning." As he spoke, remnants of chaos began to swirl in the chamber, the shadows teasing around us, threatening to consume our courage. "You have two choices, child of the mortals. Either empower the forces that bind me, or embrace the darkness and freeze this place in eternal strife. The balance of your world rests on this moment." I felt my breath catch, the weight of destiny heavy upon my shoulders. The flickering flames of our lanterns cast dancing shadows upon the walls, and I understood that it was not only my choice, it was the choice of our people, a pact that could lead to our future or our end. I looked back at Alara, who stood beside me, her eyes wide with hope intertwined with fear. "Together, we must decide." I resolved, my voice steadier now. "With our village united, we can harness the warmth still buried deep within our hearts and release you without despair. We can find a way to restore balance to our world without losing ourselves to darkness." With the very foundations of the glacier trembling around us, I knew that I had to convince not just the god before me, but the essence of this land, to see that our pursuit of warmth could be a bridge, not a burden. An epic showdown loomed, a confrontation with the past, a reckoning that would either chain us further in the frost or free us into the light of a hopeful dawn. Standing with uncertainty swirling in the air around us, I took a deep breath, recalling every tale told by the fireside and the warmth of laughter that had once filled our village. "Help us remember the power of hope," I implored, reaching out a hand to the god, which determined to bridge the chasm between despair and light. "We are not the mistakes of the past. We can be something new." And so the winds howled louder, the shadows danced, nature's fury awaiting our choice, and I stood before the forgotten god, arms outstretched, ready to confront the darkest depths of winter in a bid to restore the balance to our world. Little did I know that every heartbeat, every breath I took, brought us closer to an awakening, one that would forever change the course of our story.